I've got days or hours where I just don't want to talk, because that's the time when I'm absorbing, when I'm getting my intuition increases. And then you're getting all these messages, you're getting guidance, you're getting your clarity in terms of how to proceed with your next step in your life, or a career or a business, whatever it is. Does that make
Excellent.
sense?
Yes. Yes.
So the,
Thank you.
so the heart, doesn't necessarily have to be all, but it's the heart. However, the table that I showed before, it's the shame and guilt, unresolved issues. We can try to heal them with meditation and everything, and it might get cleared up. But in my situation, I also did shamanic studies, and I also have did soul retrievals. So when I've done that, I've got memories that I remember since I was a child. It's in my memory, and it's not from this lifetime. So I can link it now back to that memory, because I've done so much healing and things on myself. And I know how experiences maybe from the past life trauma, how it links to today, what I have experienced in this lifetime, and how to and develop some strategy how to best approach it. Because sometimes they call it PTSD. So basically, I've been through lots of things in life, and just my surgeries, it can be, I could have developed PTSD. My being in the war, exposed to war and shit that happened back in my country, people end up with PTSD. But I know how I develop strategies how to manage all of that. So we can develop resilience. There is no need for us to go through years of, holding onto PTSD, holding onto depression, holding onto anxiety, holding onto fear. We can suppress it, and sometimes even healing modalities. I would question, I would do the healing together with the mind. So it's developing the both, the heart and the mind. And I say, education is the most powerful weapon which we can use to change the world. And educating, this is from Nelson Mandela, and then educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. So I think it's Albert Einstein, I'm not sure. So basically, it's about the healing. We need to also, because the mind, we've got around between 93 and 95% of unconscious mind. And I've been through mine, and this is what shamanic practitioners do. They actually go through that integration, because we as a human beings, we've got the light and we've got the dark. It's a yin and yang. And if I run toward the light all the time, I'll be followed by the dark. But if I integrate them, I'm aware of both at the same time, and then I can choose when I need what. So many people are stuck in the darkness, and it's the mind that will stop them from getting into the heart. And as I said at the beginning, because of some past unresolved issues. And it's up to us to have that full awareness of what's stopping us, and finding someone who's got skills to take us a step further. And in today's society, we're getting, and as I have mentioned before, the Demartini method is the most powerful tool on earth used to dissolve any PTSD, trauma, depression, anxiety. And then we can start from there. We can get into healing. Because for me, I'll do the mental work, I'll do the physical work, and then I'll sit down and meditate. So that's the way that I have found it really works for me. But as I said, the mind, the stretching the mind, opening the mind, and absorbing new knowledge, it's necessary. So every human being, I have said, is born with a gene of a genius. So the genius, the spot, basically, this is why I'm saying the heart, focusing on the heart, because the heart is about innovation, it's about intuition, and the heart is about love. So we are born with a genius. And the only way to unlock that genius without meditation is for us to do what we love. But now the question would be, how many of us actually do what we love 24/7? Can you really do it? Like, for example, I live in the unit with my daughter, and I'll end up doing housework. I don't want to do housework anymore because my values changed. And I'll rather do something that I'm more inspired by. I'll do art, or I'll work with people. So there is so much that we as humans, we don't know, and we know only that which we have experienced. So as it goes, one of the ways that the mind, or we human beings, learn is by experience, personal experience, and to really understand what happens when the person has, let's say, transcendence, they reach transcendental state of consciousness, or they have transcendental experience. Those who haven't been there cannot understand. And there is a beautiful quote that Einstein has said, when the mind stretches to the new level of knowledge or consciousness, you will never be able to explain how it got there. And if you can't explain how it got there, what's the point of explaining what's out there? Unless you've got something that you brought back with you, like innovation, if that makes sense. So why I say meditation? Meditation and healing, it's very, very important. And it's also breaking through the unconscious layers of unconsciousness. And unconscious mind is composed of limited beliefs, fears, values. So we've got 3 levels: the unconscious, pre-conscious, and conscious. There is a lot. And then we're opening up. When the mind is clear, we're opening up. And we can tap into the higher levels of consciousness and the higher mind, the lower mind, the brain, and then we've got a higher mind of the soul. So on the higher levels, we all connected. So through meditation or certain practices, we can actually ask for guidance from like spiritual teachers or masters, It's all out there. These are all different planes. These are all different levels of consciousness. So happiness, happiness is out there beyond chakra healing. And what chakras healing and meditation does, it promotes healing and it helps us to become more who we truly are. It helps us to do things that we love to do. It helps us to do things that make us happy. And for me, there are 3 forms of happiness. There is true or authentic happiness, and this is about life purpose. So Aristotle has said happiness is about the meaning and purpose of life, the whole aim and end of human existence. While we humans, we actually search and we look for happiness in things on the outside or to get it from other people. But in reality, it's coming from the inside. It's coming from the discovery of a life purpose. And this is why I say meditation and heart, that chamber that's full of dreams and visions. And there is a beautiful book, by the way, by Paulo Coelho, and it's called The Alchemist. So my journey was similar to the journey of an alchemist. So if you want, grab a book and read about it. It's beautiful. So the health, wealth, and wealth.
Helena, I'm really sorry to be interrupting you over here. Just a intimation, like for the next session. Our next speaker, Dr. Mark Lindholm, has joined us. So, it'll be great, like, if you could, like move ahead with the session, and, you could just conclude in like next 5 minutes. And then we would like to invite Dr. Mark.
Yeah.
And amazing research, what you've done, every word is so true and connects to the heart, where there's happiness, there's going to be a genius, and really overwhelmed
Go back to the heart. Go back to the heart. That's love.
Yes, that's
so
super amazing.
That's our core being. It's the love. It's the heart.
Yeah.
So the mind is a trickster. It's gonna take us to life, and that's why meditation. That's why sound healing. That's why certain techniques are very important.
That's the core of our existence. Yeah. And it actually feels so amazing, to listen to somebody from you, because in India we've always had this. But coming from a different country, that feels super amazing, It shows like we are basically the same.
And that's what Amy has said, what happens, so what happens, it's actually you come to the realization that we're all part of the bigger picture, that we all one. There is no separation. It's only the mind that's going to separate between humans. But for me, what happened when now it's happening when I do my art mainly or meditate. So I open up to the whole chapter of esoteric. So basically, it's like downloading information from a higher source of consciousness. Yes, sorry.
Yes, I think we can sum up, and we give you the certificate of honor. Where is Nidhi? Nidhi, you please sum up.
Yeah. Helena,
I would highlight Helena's Maslow's need of hierarchy, which she has associated with colors, and working on heart. Amazing presentation. It was truly from heart, and we could feel the feelings. And Amy, thank you so much for a wonderful session together. And
especially,
it was really
at this hour, in the morning, Amy and Helena, we are absolutely thrilled to have you so early in the morning. And, please accept our thanks on the behalf of the entire organizers of the summit. And we would like to extend to you a small token of our appreciation in form of this certificate. We will be emailing it to you. This is for you, Helena. Thank you so much for taking out all the time for
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you guys for having me. Stay in your love and light, and let's keep moving,
Amy?
let's keep shifting.
Yeah, thanks for being the wonderful panelist and the great.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
So this is my name. This is the wisdom of the soul.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you, Helena.
so that's meditation. Let's meditate. Let's heal. Let's dig deeper into the core of our soul.
Yes, it's really great to connect with both of you, and we really appreciate your time and effort and coming on this session and enlightening us with all the amazing research work you've done. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
now
guys.
Thank you.
Love and light.
And we would like to move ahead with our session. Our next speaker from USA, Dr. Mark. Just a minute, let me just bring him on the spot.
Lindholm, Mark Lindholm.
Yeah. Dr. Mark Lindholm, a very good morning to you, sir. And we are absolutely thrilled to have you here with our in our session. And I would like to introduce Dr. Mark. He is an author and a frequent speaker. He's been a practicing chiropractor for the past 25 years, and he specializes in the care of pregnant women, infants, and families. So it's wonderful to have you over here with us, Dr. Mark, and the stage is all yours, and we are waiting to hear from you.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be with you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I'm so honored to be here speaking to the group. I have a little bit of a conundrum that I just finished treating patients, and then I'm going to be back treating patients. So I have kind of a hard deadline at the end that I'll have to get off fairly soon when we're done. I had a little confusion about the time change, and luckily Dr. Das and I were able to straighten it out yesterday, and my lovely employees were able to change my schedule around to free up a half an hour so I could talk to you today. So I'm just going to jump right in. I'm going to see if I can share my screen here.
Yeah, you can do that.
But that's not what I want to share. Sorry about this. Let me open this. Of course, right before I went to get on with you, my internet went down. So luckily it's up and running now. There. Okay. So. Perfect. All right. So I thought it was amazing that kind of the topic that Dr. Das suggested that I speak on today was a paradigm shift in healthcare. We had not talked about this ahead of time, but I think this is an amazing thing to talk about, especially with my background and what I do as a chiropractor. Like you said in the introduction, I've been, a clinician. I've been treating patients for actually, it's almost 30 years now. And I just love what I do as a chiropractor. And I'm not sure, because we have attendees from around the world, if they have a good understanding of what we do as chiropractors. We have a whole different health paradigm than most Western medicine conventional kind of approach. So I'm really excited to talk about this topic today. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of my approach to health and what, the thousands of chiropractors around the world, kind of most of us, our approach to health, which I think really ties into the more Eastern approach to health, but is very different from what has been traditionally viewed as normal in the West. But we're seeing a huge change in that. So there is definitely a shift in this paradigm, and it's really being driven by patients, as well as the amazing thing is I'm going to try to not be too dry about my comments, but I'm going to talk a little bit about some research today. It's also being driven by the research. That the amazing thing is that a lot of the things that we're seeing that in the past were were not well appreciated. Now the science is catching up with what we're seeing clinically, and that there's more to health than just, the physical aspects of what we can measure with blood chemistry and x-rays and radiation, x-rays and MRIs. So, so a really important thing is just that a difference about how we view health. My practice is that we consider health to be a vitalistic endeavor. So the human body is more than the sum of its parts. There's this physical, emotional, spiritual aspect to the way our bodies work, and it's really just undeniable. But like I said, in the past, this was almost put in the realm of like the metaphysical. But now the great thing is the science is catching up and showing that, yes, this is really the way the body works. That, when you look at quantum physics, or you look at the body that our bodies are essentially an energy field, that there's more not there when we touch ourselves than there is there. So the chiropractic philosophy has always been that, the power of the body, the power that makes the body heals the body, and that, that's the only way it happens. So it's really, really been interesting in my practice lifetime as a chiropractor, because I've been, like I said, in practice for almost 30 years, to see how the Western medicine has kind of caught up with the approach that we've had for a long time. So I tell my patients, there's never been a better time to be a chiropractic patient or to be a holistic health patient, but it's not because we're doing things differently. It's that now we have proof that what we're doing really is valid. Oops. So just a little bit about chiropractic in case some of the people in the audience aren't familiar with it. So chiropractic, although physicians have adjusted the spine to improve human health as long back as we have human records, back to ancient Indian and Chinese writings, ancient Egyptian writings. But chiropractic as a profession of the way we practice now was started in 1895. So it's been, actually this year we celebrate our 125th year of the anniversary of the founding of modern chiropractic, of working with the spine to improve the health of the nervous system. And so an important thing for people to understand is that, at least in the West, is most people view chiropractic as a treatment for musculoskeletal problems, headaches and back pain and neck pain. And definitely it can help with that. But chiropractic has never been that. From the inception, chiropractic has always been about improving the health of the spine and nervous system, but our goals are improved overall whole body health, better longevity and quality of life. And if quality of life, many of you in the audience might be familiar that that's a research term. If you Google chiropractic and quality of life, you will come up with studies that have shown dramatic improvement in people as they age, that they're able to basically do the things they want to do. In other words, the reality is we all at some point are going to die, but we want to enjoy and have a high quality experience while we are alive. And improving how the body functions and how we connect to our environment can really go a long way toward doing that. And ultimately, that's so much more important than just getting rid of pain. Now, having said that, there's a number of studies that definitely show that chiropractic care, what we do, can really help with pain. This top study that you see on the slide there is from my alma mater, Palmer College of Chiropractic, which is the largest chiropractic college in the world. And I'm very blessed to have been a student there. I actually have a daughter who is finishing up her studies there now. She's doing her clinical portion of her residency. But anyway, this study that was published back in 2013 showed that it was an interesting study, because what they did is they took patients and they split them into groups where some of them received medical care and chiropractic care, and they rated their pain improvement. 73% of them rated their pain as completely gone, much better, or moderately better. In comparison to the people that only got the Western medicine medical care, only 17% of the participants noticed or stated that kind of improvement. So it showed a dramatic increase in patient outcomes when they included this holistic approach of chiropractic and being focused toward the spine, which we'll talk about in a second. The next citation there is from a study from JMPT from 2006, which showed for neck pain that there was a 94% patient satisfaction rate with chiropractic care. So definitely chiropractic can help with pain and musculoskeletal issues, but it's really just the tip of the iceberg. It's really all about the brain and the nervous system controlling how the body works. This study that's cited here, if you get a chance to, if you don't look at any of the other studies that I mentioned, this would be one to write down or look back at this and look up this study. The great thing about this is that it really explains why we get such amazing benefits with treating the spine. This study was just published in 2016, so it's only a few years old. And this was the 4th study that has shown without a doubt that when we adjust the spine, you can see segmental evoked potentials and EEGs change in the prefrontal cortex. So in the part of the brain that really orchestrates or controls our overall body function, that when you adjust the spine instantly, they saw in this study that there was a change in how that prefrontal cortex worked. Really what it's about at the basic level is the nerves go from our brain through our spinal cord to our body, everything in our body, literally everything from sensation to movement to organ function. But it's so much more important than just those efferent pathways going down. There's also pathways coming back to the brain. And that feedback loop is what we call homeostasis. That's how our body controls itself. The nervous system is really the master controller of the body. But it's, as many of you know, there's still a lot we don't know about the nervous system, which is amazing, that it's not just the electronic signal, the action potential. There's an energy of communication that we really honestly still don't quite understand. We can't scientifically prove, but we know that the rate of reaction that we see with many bodily functions cannot possibly be explained by the action potential of nerve conduction. There's all kinds of neuroreceptors that happen more in a hormonal-like effect in the body. But it's really great to see these kinds of studies that are showing that when I work with my patients, that it has this overall body effect. And I don't have time to get into it today. Actually, I will just a little bit with this next slide about that there's this whole epigenetic change that happens too. When we improve somebody's health or we impact their health, it doesn't just affect their health, but it affects how their DNA changes over time, how it repairs, and this epigenetic change. We know now through studies that about 80% of our health is not determined by our genes, but it's how those genes are expressed, how they're turned on and off, that really have such a huge effect on our health. And this is great because it's empowering to our patients that they're not just a victim of bad luck, you know, who their parents were or the genes that they inherited, that they can do things to change this genetic expression. This study showed that with chiropractic care that there's an influence on that. This particular study looked at serum thiol, which is a marker for DNA repair in the human body. And what's interesting about this study is they looked at people that got adjusted or saw a chiropractor short term, and it showed some changes in their DNA repair in the serum thiol levels, but it showed that the best response was in long-term chiropractic patients, people that saw their physician, their chiropractor, to improve their health on a regular basis. In other words, not just looking at health as treating symptoms or disease, but approaching it from the aspect of optimal health. The next thing I want to just touch on is how we can work together. So obviously there's times when we need traditional Western medicine. There's times when, you know, people need surgery, they need emergency care. But what we're finding is that the research is very clear that integrating together, having a combined approach of alternative approaches like chiropractic and nutrition and acupuncture and Eastern medicine kind of approaches, combining that together, what actually we call integrative medicine, is the best of both worlds. But it's not just combining them together, but it's doing it intelligently in a way where we're working together, but we're starting with the least invasive things first. So not jumping to a pharmaceutical that has side effects if there's natural things you can do. You know, instead of having somebody take, you know, meloxicam or take an anti-inflammatory that's going to damage their gut and cause all these other sequelae down the road, why not have somebody use something like turmeric or ginger to decrease their inflammation? Why not teach them how to meditate, how to do relaxation techniques? So it's systematically integrating in a certain fashion. And another thing that's really important is having their approach be focused toward optimal health and wellness, not the treatment of disease, which I'll talk about in a second. And this has been studied. The most dramatic study was a 7-year study. It was actually funded by a U.S. insurance company called Blue Cross and Blue Shield, which is one of the largest insurance companies in the U.S. And what they did is they did a 7-year study where participants, to be in the study, their primary care physician had to be an alternative medicine practitioner. So a chiropractor or an alternative-minded medical doctor or an osteopath. And what they did is they followed these patients for 7 years, and the results were dramatic. They found that they had 60% less hospitalizations, 62% less surgeries, and a whopping 85% lower pharmaceutical costs. These are amazing results. So definitely the research is showing that this is the way of the future. Honestly, I wish that studies like this were more well known and that this would cause a dramatic change in our healthcare system. It's starting to change, but not dramatically. It's changing slowly. That's one of the reasons I love these kinds of things where we can share information, and hopefully this information will help to speed up this transition of this change in healthcare paradigms. We really need this to happen for the health of humanity, for these changes to happen. I think one of the most important things is to have a paradigm shift toward wellness. I'm probably preaching to the choir, or I'm probably talking to people that already understand this, but the reality is we're all on this health spectrum, with death being at one end and then optimal health being at the other. The problem with most Western approaches is their focus, their sole focus is the treatment of disease. And that you don't even access the system usually until you have obvious symptoms or disease. There's so many benefits to pushing past that area in the middle where you don't have symptoms to try to really promote wellness. The phrase I use often with my patients is that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. I really think that we should be rewarding the healthcare system, rewarding doctors for promoting health as opposed to treating disease. I see this with COVID right now, that in the US at least, it's all about, treating trying to kill the virus or treating the disease. And yes, we need to do that. But the reality is that there's more viruses in our atmosphere than there are stars in the sky. There's so many viruses, we can't possibly combat all of them. It's so much better to raise the resistance of the host. It's all about the susceptibility of the host versus the virulence of the disease. And I feel like there's not nearly enough being said about what can we do to raise the resistance of the population so we're not vulnerable to infectious disease as well as everything else that we struggle against. So I'm sorry that I'm talking quickly, but I know my time is limited. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about one aspect of what I have been doing at my clinic over the last couple of years. Thank you, Doctor, for my introduction. You mentioned that I'm an author. I wrote a book called A Doctor's Perspective on CBD. And I want to talk a little bit about that book and about the endocannabinoid system. Because of the amazing results that I'm seeing at my clinic, utilizing a high quality hemp oil product or CBD. And again, I'm not sure with my audience how familiar you are with hemp oil or the genus and species is the cannabis plant. Again, this is something that has a history that goes back, thousands and thousands of years of being used. But now science is starting to catch up with the value of using these phytocannabinoids to improve our overall health. So I don't have time to get into it today, but if you have any interest, my book is available on Amazon. You can get it and read in my book that I got started with using this as an approach with my patients because of a personal health issue that I had where using a high quality CBD product was amazingly beneficial for me. I was really worried that I was going to have to retire from treating patients, and I love what I do clinically. And so that's why this topic is so important to me. So first, I just want to talk a little bit about what CBD is. So CBD stands for cannabidiol, which is one of the cannabinoids found in the hemp plant or the cannabis plant. It's relatively recently discovered. And when I say recently, about 30 years ago, and I'll talk a minute about that in a slide here in the future. It's a plant-based or a phyto based compound, which is, I think, super important, that sometimes we need drugs, but drugs that, especially synthetic drugs, often have so many side effects. Our body basically knows what to do with plants. It knows what to do with things that God created that are on this earth, and our body has, many researchers believe that we've actually co-evolved with the cannabis plant, and we're designed to intake these phytocannabinoids on a regular basis. The really great thing about this too is it ties into my chiropractic philosophy of that the body is more than the sum of its parts, and that it's designed to be well, that's the natural state of things, is wellness if we can remove interference. And that the way the endocannabinoid system works, as you can see in this little diagram, is we have receptors. CB1 and CB2 receptors are the most studied in every system of our body. Our reproductive system, our immune system, our circulating white blood cells have receptors for these cannabinoids. As a matter of fact, we produce our own cannabinoids. They're called endocannabinoids. There's the two most researched are 2-AG and anandamide that combine to these receptors. So we see all kinds of benefits, really too many for me to go into, but in my book, actually, go through the research. There's thousands of studies about the endocannabinoid system and how it affects health in different ways. And I break it down and make it understandable, although the citations are all footnoted in the book, so you can look up the actual PubMed data. But we find especially that stimulating and taking advantage of this endocannabinoid system with CBD or a phytocannabinoid helps with pain, stress, anxiety, depression, really helps with sleep, has a great effect on inflammation, which is the root, that oxidative stress and inflammation is the root of so many chronic diseases. And part of that is cardiovascular health. We find there's an amazing study that I review in my book that shows a 60% less heart damage in when they actually cause a blockage of an artery. They did this study on rodents, on rats, where they literally caused a heart attack and then reperfused the heart. And when they had cannabinoids on board circulating, they had 60% less damage to their heart. Cancer, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit here, cognitive support, being able to mentally concentrate and function better. Definitely health and beauty things, immune system support, which is really huge now with a global pandemic. Seizures, I've had several patients that are able to use the high quality CBD product that I carry at my clinic and have been able to stop using all of their seizure medicines, which have some side effects, and really just general wellness, which I think is the most important reason to use a CBD or a phytocannabinoid. So the reason that we see such amazing results, though, is the endocannabinoid system. So like I said, we all have this system in our body. You can think of it like a lock and key system. So we have these receptors in every system of our body, and these receptors are stimulated by these cannabinoids. So we produce our own endocannabinoids, like I said, 2-AG and anandamide, but phytocannabinoids that are found best from hemp, but come from other things too, bind to these same receptors, and they turn on this system. The amazing thing about this system is not only do we have these receptors in every system of our body, but that it tends to have this overarching effect and turn on and off or cause this balance or homeostasis in the body that we find when we upregulate this endocannabinoid system, that our body is able to balance better. So unlike a drug, you can kind of think of the endocannabinoid system like a hormonal system, but unlike other hormonal systems, there is not a negative feedback loop with this. So for example, if a man had low testosterone and we gave him a drug of testosterone, for a while it would raise his testosterone, but then his body would actually stop producing it itself as much because it's getting it from the outside. And we find that doesn't happen with the cannabinoids because our body is often not getting them in our diet. Just like we need to eat other nutrients, we need iron in our diet, we need vitamins and minerals and so forth. A lot of researchers believe that we need these cannabinoids, these phytocannabinoids, to upregulate this system for human health, which like I said, is there's many essential nutrients that we need. And I know my time is running short, but I want to, no discussion of the endocannabinoid system would be complete without mentioning Dr. Raphael Mechoulam. He's the one that's, he and his team are the ones that first isolated some of the phytocannabinoids, so THC and CBD. There's actually over 100 different cannabinoids found in the hemp plant and over 400 different synergistic compounds, flavonoids and proteins and minerals and so forth that all work together, terpenes. But it was he and his team that also discovered the endocannabinoid system. But it's not just limited to his team. This quote from Dr. Bradley Alger, who's a researcher at the University of Maryland, says that, you know, the endogenous cannabinoid system named after the plant that led to its discovery is one of the most important physiological systems involved in establishing and maintaining human health. We really have a lot more to learn about this endocannabinoid system, but I truly believe that it's just going to become more important as we learn about it. I want to jump forward and talk just a little bit about one of the things that we find that's really exciting to me as a physician is some of the studies that are showing profound effects with cancer and using cannabinoids. So this team of researchers out of Spain are doing some great research into cannabinoids and cancer. And what they have found is that that using cannabinoids to upregulate phytocannabinoids, to upregulate this endocannabinoid system seems to really help the body to naturally destroy cancer cells. And this is where our body is designed to work. You know, just like we're designed to kill viruses and our body should promote health, the same thing that every single one of us, every one of you that can hear me right now, your body is detecting and destroying abnormal cells or precancerous cells in your body. But we're finding that this is really improved with upregulating this endocannabinoid system. They find specifically when somebody has cancer that the cannabinoids inhibit angiogenesis, which is the formation of new blood vessels that feeds the cancer. And it also tends to inhibit cell proliferation of many different kinds of tumors when it's been studied. I actually have a whole series of slides about different types of cancer, but I want to talk about a little bit today just about pancreatic cancer, because it's one of those types of cancer that there's a very low survival rate for. It's a very aggressive type of cancer. And so this same team of researchers has been doing some studies on pancreatic tumor cell lines, and they're finding some really amazing things. One of the things they're finding is that there's a greater incidence of, or greater number of these endocannabinoid receptors, these CB1 and especially CB2 receptors found in the cancerous tissue versus the normal tissue. So it's amazing to me that our body innately knows that this endocannabinoid system should be upregulated in the presence of abnormal cells and tumor cells, and it actually upregulates these receptors. But the problem is that if you're deficient in these phytocannabinoids, it's like having a bunch of those locks, but not enough keys to upregulate the system. So what their study showed was that it also induced apoptosis, which is a self-destruction of the cancer cells. Now, I'm not saying this is a cure for all kinds of cancer, but I'm saying that the research is really interesting. This allows the body to innately work the way it's supposed to. It's undeniable that the body is always destroying abnormal cells. And there's great promise with a safe, natural plant that seems to have an effect. So where I have highlighted a little bit lower down, it showed also in 2 animal models of pancreatic cancer that it inhibited the spread of pancreatic tumor cells and selectively increased this apoptosis, this natural destruction of cancer cells, where the body, like the immune system, has these cells self-destruct. But also, it showed that there was no damage to the normal tissue. It did not seem to cause this apoptic problem with the normal tissues, which is super important because we don't find that in many conventional approaches where you know that there's going to be damage to the healthy tissue as a sequelae of using other drugs or radiation. So I'm sorry my time with you is short. I wish I had more time to talk. If you'd like more information, I have a website, like I said, my book, but I'm really, really glad that I was able to visit with you and share some of this information. I look forward to, a continued communication amongst healthcare providers from around the world. I just think that is so important to move this paradigm shift in healthcare forward. I hope in my practice lifetime that we see a more dramatic shift of this integrative medicine, of integrating the best of Western and Eastern medicine, a more natural approach. So with that, I'm going to end my slideshow. And I probably only have another minute or two here. How do I end screen share? There we go.
Right.
All right.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mark.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think
Mark, sir, your research was really enlightening because we worked with John Hopkins, Maryland, and my sister-in-law is a radiologist, senior radiologist. And there we worked with the team. And what you are saying, how we can boost our immunity. What you are saying is, instead of controlling virus, why don't we raise our immunity? Because when I was with Vico people in my training, they used to always say, the MD, okay, you fall sick, you fall, I'm not eating this, I'm not eating this. But why don't you raise your immunity level? Why don't you raise? So your point, Das sir always says, okay, this small particle of mud has how many millions of virus? You cannot control that, but you can raise your immunity level.
Yes, and that is so important, and we should be shouting that from the mountaintops. Every person in the public, I think, should be hearing that. But at least in our country, that's not what you're hearing. You're hearing wear a mask, protect yourself, quarantine. And not that those things. I'm not saying those things are not valuable, but in the big scheme of the way our human body works, it's not nearly as important as building up the resistance of the person or the host. So.
Wonderful session, Dr. Mark, and that you could spare the time despite of your hectic schedule. And I appreciate you came on time. We were anxiously waiting for you to have your session. You did it wonderfully, and definitely we see that your work on CBD, especially your research work and your products, how we can definitely make use as far as our country is concerned in India, because most of the people have some kind of misconception about the CBD and other things. But the way the scientific studies have been conducted by you and by your seniors and by your faculty, it's an eye-opener for all of us. And definitely we see that the best messages in India reaches to the large number of people about this. Thank you so much.
Yep, thank you. All right. Well, I hope that the rest of the summit goes wonderfully. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
right. So we would like to present a small token of appreciation.
Thank you.
In the form
Thank
of
you so much.
certificates.
Thank you, Dr. Mark. We will work with you in future, and thank you so much. And Dr. Das, Dr. Rajmal is from NASA, scientist. He will
We
speak
will
you.
include him tomorrow, madam. Now it ends now. We will include him tomorrow. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Even
I'm-
Mr. Rajmal, he himself has messaged actually wants to take it tomorrow or day after tomorrow. So probably tomorrow we must take him. And,
I'm going to sign off. I send you all my love and blessings. Thank you.
Thank you. And
Great. Yes, Shikha, please conclude.
Yeah, thank you,
Call
sir.
Dr. Sara. Dr.
Right.
Sara.
Right. So before I call Dr. Sara, just to give vote of thanks, let me just brief you about tomorrow's session. Tomorrow we are having a session about emotional and mental health framework, where we will have speakers from across the world. And one more announcement that the awards ceremony that we were going to have for half an hour, it will be done tomorrow due to the lack of time today. So I will request Dr. Sara to please come and give vote of thanks to all of our speakers, including the organizers. Please, Mr. Sara, Ms. Sara, please. Yeah, she's there.
Okay, so I take this great opportunity to thank each and every one of our speakers. In the morning, we had Smita ma'am, Sonal Jaiswal. We got a very, very good insight on chakras, the beach mantras, how to heal them. Then we had Michiko Masaru, and she gave us my favorite pet subject on all the water crystals, how the effects of thoughts, words, and emotions on water. We had Aurelio, he gave us a beautiful insight on the music and the therapies that are used. Helena's was wonderful, and I love the wheel of life and the speak on love and the work on the heart, that which we should always do. The emotion of love is certainly the highest emotion, which is definitely healing. So she stressed a lot about that. Thank Amy to be with her to take it through. And Amrish Mehta also added into the flavor of the chakras and the mantras. We had a fantastic session with Patrick Porter. I have had personal experience with Patrick's brain tap. I do invite all of y'all to get more into it and look into his website. I have used it myself, and I do have personally. And of course, in the end, we had Mark Lindon, and we should definitely tell him his vision and what he really wants. This to go global, which Dr. Das is doing a brilliant job with this Global Wellness Summit and the Global Wellness, getting all the wellness holistic therapies under one roof. And in the end, of course, I thank all the participants who have been with us through the day. To make this, without you and without the audience, the speakers would not have that much of encouragement. So thank you all. Good night, and see you all again tomorrow for the same next speakers and next level of holistic therapies. Thank you, Dr. Das, and thank you, team.
Thank you, Dr. Sarah.
Thank you, Dr. Sarah. And thank you, Dr. Das, and all the
Thank you, Dr.
participants.
Manju,
So, sir, it was amazing session. Every speaker was so good, and I'm sure tomorrow there will be more participation from participants. We will have question answers, and we will involve more people. So it would be more interactive session tomorrow.
I could see a very good moderator in Dr. Manju Jain today. Yeah. Thank you all the esteemed, please, and so that they join tomorrow sharp at 2 p.m. with Dr. Manju Jain welcoming our chief guest, Mayor Moose.
Yes.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, sir.
Yes, yes.